Right, hi everyone. It's Mark Wilkinson here. It's Straight Talking, another episode. It's 7:30 p.m. here in London. It's my absolute pleasure. It's one of the most amazing people I'm going to get to talk to through this whole time, all these interviews we're doing. I've got Lorraine Hahn with me today, who's been CNN International Regional Chat Show host for TalkAsia, and also anchor of Business Asia, as well as working with CNBC. She's met some amazing people, and we're going to talk a lot about the life in Hong Kong at the moment, life in Asia, our careers 2020, how things have been going for all of us. And we're going to be talking and getting some really, really interesting info. So first of all, hi, Lorraine, how are you?
Fine, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, bless you. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. Yeah, 2020, how's it been for you so far?
Well, let's put it this way. I've lost just about all my projects, my jobs. They've been delayed indefinitely, obviously. I actually flew to Vancouver to quarantine myself for a big job in San Diego with Michelle Obama, David Cameron, Deepak Chopra, blah, blah, blah. 5 days before the event in March, canceled. Oh. So, it's been a real bummer, actually. And obviously, as you know, reading the newspapers at the moment, Hong Kong isn't doing so well. We are in our fourth wave. And unfortunately, we're in a semi-lockdown right now. But, I guess the good thing is you spend time with your husband or my spouse, my husband, and 2 English bulldogs. So,
okay. So they'll keep you busy.
Very.
And so semi-lockdown in Hong Kong would mean no restaurants, no socialising?
Yeah, like the usual social distancing, mandatory masks. Restaurants are closed at 6 p.m., only 2 to a table. Golf courses are closed.
Yes, yes. We'll talk about golf.
I mean, all those things that they've just closed. So, yeah, it's basically staying at home, really, because we've had a couple of cases where they're young people who have recently died in their 40s who are healthy. They had no chronic illnesses and they passed away rather quickly. So they're wondering what's going on with this virus. Has it mutated or, is it that infectious? We don't know.
I heard 2020 described as the year to be grateful for what we have, before we can get back to our goals, our dreams, our mission. Because it has literally just been sort of like just hunker down and just be grateful for what you've actually got currently, and then look to extend from there. I mean, obviously, the world's hoping out or holding out for this vaccine or the vaccines to take away a lot of the fear, certainly from the older generations. I hope that we can move past this fear. I've read a lot about Napoleon Hill, for instance, Think and Grow Rich, and in there he talks about how the world lurches from crisis to crisis every 7 to 10 years, and there's always a fear. It was a fear of no money in 2008-9. Now it's a fear of ill health and death. And of course, there's some terrible stories out there, and I appreciate that. Of course I do.
I totally agree. I mean, I would assume, because obviously you're in London or in the UK and in Asia and, Japan, Korea, the US, Germany now that's gone into a lockdown.
Yeah.
We're all facing the same thing. So it's a global phenomenon. Yep. And, but the only thing is, obviously, I hate to live in fear. And so we try our best to maintain some sort of decency and normalcy as best we can, but under the circumstances, and therefore then you just don't go stir crazy.
You're absolutely right. I mean, there's a lot of potential mental health issues around this kind of staying at home, where it's just not good for us. I mean, it's don't get me wrong, it's good to connect with our loved ones and be grateful and look after that. But yeah, I mean, I heard Germany have cancelled Christmas now, basically, and yes. Nobody's going anywhere basically in Germany. It's going to be fascinating to see what happens here in the UK. In all honesty, I think London, we're probably going into tier 3 if we haven't already, which for us means semi-lockdown again, if you like. And then, of course, my wife and I had a beautiful winter sunshine holiday booked in Phuket for 3 weeks in Christmas, and that's gone. So that's gone back 12 months. But it is what it is. I mean, I was talking to one of my friends and I was saying, essentially, we're struggling because the gym's closed or because we can't fly somewhere. but really it's first world problems, isn't it? Because there's people, there's people starving in the world, and we're moaning about the gym and the holiday. But anyway, listen, keep safe and stay healthy, of course. We need you, Lorraine. We need you back meeting and grilling these top people. So as far as music goes, because obviously you know a bit about me and Life Remixed, I was a DJ, still am a little bit, but I was a DJ at Ministry of Sound when I was 25, traveled to 65 countries, Hong Kong, in Singapore, etc., included over there. But your kind of music, what's the thing that gets you moving?
Oh, I'm going to date myself here. I've always been a fan of black music, Motown, stylistics, I liked McCartney with his Band on the Run when I was still in school. That song really, every time I listen to it, it just sends shivers down my spine, because I just can imagine myself in school listening to that song over and over again,
Yeah.
Obviously, Luther Vandross, to me, is probably one of my most favorite singers. His song, Dance with My Father, is a very emotional song for me. It means a lot to me personally, because I just lost my father a few years ago, and my mother this year. Yeah. So it's to me, in a nutshell, it really makes you aware that, like you, I spent a lot of my time traveling and working. That was my focus for 30 years. And they were living in Vancouver, and I obviously had moved to Hong Kong to get my work and my job. So I rarely had a chance to go back and see them. And I often tell people, you really have to rethink this about life. And that is, spending time is not really a given. You really should try and make an effort, because when it's gone, you can't get it back.
That's right.
And that would be probably a slight regret in my life, because I am the only child. So, they were basically everything. And, a lot of times when you have to work in the news, they don't give you Christmas, New Year, Chinese New Year off. Not necessarily. It's not a given. So, a lot of times during the festive times, I was actually working my butt off.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's something.
I think you're right. I think for me, music is the sound of emotions. It's the sound. It can take you back to a time and a place. It can uplift you, or it can remind you of a beautiful moment or something like that. And very much that black soulful sound is where I came from in the 80s. It was I've always been a soul boy. I might have this white specky face, but I'm basically a soul boy. Soul music was massive here in the UK, and that's how I went into house music and everything. It's kind of the path that I've trodden. But yeah, music is the sound of emotions, and obviously, I'm sorry to hear about your mother and father. And yeah, I mean, you kind of, when you love what you do, I think that it's so easy for it to just sort of, it just overtakes your life if you're not careful. And I think you're right that sometimes we have to take that moment. I'm going to see my mother this evening to see how I must do that. I will do that. So
we take a lot of things for granted. Yeah, we do. Especially when you're young, you're starting off, everything is career focused. And that's your number one priority. And you always think your parents will live forever. I did, and it's not the case. But anyway.
No, that's right. So,
on a negative note.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's just how we live, isn't it? We do our best, and we move forward all the time. I mean, as you know, Life Remixed is a bit about, this is how much fun I had, because I did have a lot of fun. But then this is how bad it got when I ended up with an incurable disease and bankruptcy, and then all the things I did to fix it. You must have been through challenges yourself. You must have been through, particularly working for yourself or working in these highly politicized organizations like CNN and CNBC, etc. How was it? What happened when you had challenges? There must have been career change. There must have been, moments where you had problems.
Well, I don't know if I would call them problems, because I was actually quite lucky. I was embraced by some of the top brass in both of these networks. So I was one of the lucky ones. When I came in, when I first started, obviously, there weren't that many Asian females on telly. They are now, which I'm very, very happy for. And I've always been pushing for that, to have more Asian faces on the television screens. And it's happening now. But, I think the hardest problem for me, at least working in Asia, was that when you go to certain countries, and like, let's say, Korea, or even Japan for that matter, they're very chauvinistic, and they still are. So, you know, if I was leading the crew there, and some PR agent would come and say, okay, you know, we're waiting to interview your boss, like the chairman of Hyundai or something. And they would direct their questions, not at me, but at like my cameraman who doesn't speak English, but he's Chinese and he's a man, you know, and he'd say, I think you better ask her. And they look at me, you know, and I'm like, yeah, you know, so there's a lot of that still that's difficult, and you need to penetrate. Obviously it's better than when it was 30 years ago, but it's definitely an issue for Asian women.
That's amazing. I mean, that just in itself, that's you know, not something that obviously that I think we all have so many different experiences, don't we? You know, there's the whole piece with Black Lives Matter, etc. For instance, you know, you know, I want to relate, and I want to be that man of the world, and I want to give up. You know, I can never relate to someone else's story, and it's very difficult for me to understand that anybody would act that way towards you as who you are and what you do, and yet you still found that. Even it's pretty amazing. And you know, so I mean, how did you handle that? Obviously, you kept your cool, and you.
No, I just say, yeah, excuse me, I can answer your questions. I mean, I'm polite about it, you know, and just deal with it there and then wait for the boss to come so I can do the interview and get out. You know?
Yes. Yes, no, I understand that. I really do. And so as far as like, you know, interviewing, you know, you've interviewed some amazing people. You've interviewed, I mean, you mentioned a few names at the start, and business leaders, heads of state, famous personalities. Who, you know, what kind of names really stick out to you that you know, that you were suitably impressed by?
Oh, there's many. I really liked Elton John, Sir Elton John, because he was an unusual case, because in hindsight he was, because first of all, nobody's allowed to touch him. You're not allowed to put a mic on him, nothing. All right. So we had to use a boom mic. Yeah. And anyway, the interview went very well. I was told, you know, normally at the end we shake hands or something, right? So I was warned prior to that, no shaking hands, nothing, you know, just thank him very much. And it was a great interview. He was really a very interesting and very intelligent man. And then at the end, he sort of hugged me and kissed me. And I said, okay, I'm not going to wash the left side of my cheek for like a week. You know, I got this girly stuff. But the next day he had flown directly to Taiwan. And for some odd reason, some of the paparazzis there, or the news people there, really upset him. And he was on the news, the local news that day, and he started swearing at them basically. So I was like, yeah, I'm glad I didn't upset him in Hong Kong. You know, and the other one that probably sticks out is Henry Kissinger, former Secretary of State. You know, I had to do an interview with him in my early days on China. And this guy wrote the book on China. I mean, he went to China when I was a toddler kind of thing, you know, so I was really worried, and he was not in a good mood, I was told. So that was a very stressful interview. Tiger Woods, of course, gave me a tip or two on my 7-iron, which till today I cannot perfect. So, you know.
We'll talk about golf and clubs in a minute. Yeah. Okay. I mean, those three there, I think we could talk a lot about those guys. I mean, first one, Elton John, Rocket Man. Have you seen Rocket Man, the film?
Of course.
What a film that is.
It was indeed. Yeah, it really was. I enjoyed it anyway.
I enjoyed that, and I also enjoyed the Queen one as well.
Oh yes, with Rami Malek, yes.
Yeah, that was amazing. Both of those films were so powerful, and just brought that music back to me. To be fair, because being a soul boy in the 80s, I didn't really connect with that music that much. But actually, just listening back, I remember I've actually used one of the quotes from Elton John in the film in Life Remixed, where he basically says, "I started being something at age 14, and I just forgot to stop." And that's basically what I did. I just didn't do it with quite as much money, and I was playing other people's records rather than making and writing the records he was. But I just remember, you know, I identify a lot with that story, a lot with Rocket Man, and a lot with that story. And what a guy to write those songs and to be out there doing those kind of performances. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I want to Henry Kissinger and Tiger Woods, I'd love to talk about them as well. But the one thing that really jumps out at me from what you just said is comfort zones. Someone said to me once that nothing of note was ever achieved inside a comfort zone. And there must have been moments when you're interviewing, as you said, you're interviewing these guys and women, of course, all around the world, and all these people. You're Michelle Obama, you mentioned earlier, etc., and Deepak Chopra. You're interviewing these people, and you must be miles outside of your comfort zone.
Oh yeah, when I was with Schwarzenegger, I was like, oh my God, his persona before you even meet him, it's like, oh, is he gonna be like mean? But he was all right. He was cool. Also, very soft-spoken type of guy. It was like, huh? Is that Sylvester? Oh, no, not Sylvester. Schwarzenegger. Yeah, I was like, huh? Yeah. Arnold. Yeah. I was like, huh?
You were expecting the Terminator, and he turned up.
I was indeed. Yeah, I was indeed. But yeah, I've done so many, to be honest with you, because of the time I've spent working. There's so many, for whatever reasons. Each one of them is very special. We had, I don't know if you know Christina Noble and her charity foundation. She was an Irish lady who was homeless, and she started a charity organization that spans mostly Cambodia and, the ASEAN region. And she's done very well for herself and helping orphans and so on and so forth. She struck a note with me too. I recently played a charity golf event to help with the donations to her foundation, actually. So yeah, so many, some things I forget, some things I remember, but yeah, it's just, everyone is interesting, Mark. It's so hard to just tell you Kissinger was interesting or Tiger Woods was, but there's so many of them. Yeah, I've been very blessed. I've been very honored to have met them. Of course, some of them now have passed on. Luciana Pavarotti is gone. A lot of these big names that I managed to interview have left. Stanley Ho's of Macau. All these people. I mean, he wouldn't do the interview with me, Stanley Ho. That's Macau, the Macau tycoon, unless I danced with him at the end of the show. I'm like, I can't ballroom dance. Then they're like, just try, just do your best.
Just have a go. Move outside the comfort zone.
Yeah.
But you did it.
I made the chairman of HSBC sing "Oh Danny Boy" on TV. David Elton, super nice guy. Anyway, yeah, just different things that happen in my life,
It's interesting because I do a lot of coaching and I help a lot. I do business coaching, life coaching, happiness and health coaching, all kinds of stuff. And one of the things I try and, I'm trying to get people to sort of step up and move into their new areas of their life and overcome those kind of like those jitters and those kind of fear factors and everything else. And you clearly have done that, on a almost like a daily basis, if not a daily or a weekly basis. I often say to people, you realize that there's like 6 billion people on the planet and there's not another one like you. You are utterly unique. And you have the opportunity to do something special with your God-given talents, right?
Yeah, I was really very lucky. I mean, I didn't even think I'd be getting into television network news. I think it's just the right timing. In the 80s, I started with radio. So, thought, oh, okay, maybe I'll give TV a shot. And then just learn everything from scratch.
Do you think it was luck, or do you think it was focus and determination?
I guarantee you there was luck in there. Okay. I guarantee you, yeah. It's hard to get a television job, on-air job. And at that time, and even now, more so.
Probably worse, yeah.
Because there's so much talent out there, and the people nowadays, they're good. They've had background, learning and so on and so forth. I didn't. I started out as a rookie and I learned everything from scratch. I worked 7 days a week, every day. I remember I moonlighted for Cathay Pacific on-air video on the planes when airplanes launched video screens. So I'm dating myself now, but yeah. And we didn't have any auto cues or anything. We spent weekends memorizing 7 hours of script so that we could, that you would that if you sat on Cathay Pacific and you switched on the TV, you'd only be seeing me and whatever music video that was playing, or, you know, a tourism video that was showing of Phuket or whatever. Yeah. But everything was memorized, you know.
Wow.
So we spent hours and hours. That's after your day job, by the way.
Well, that is commitment, isn't it? That's commitment. That is focus. That is, you know, I understand the word luck. I really do. You know, and right place, right time, and that kind of stuff. Definitely. You know, people may say the same about me as a DJ and a record producer with a top 10 hit. I remixed Lou Reed and David Bowie and put it in the top 10 here in UK, Satellite of Love. So, you know, I've done a few things myself, and people would say, well, that was lucky. And you go, okay, well, yes, elements, of course, but I played my part too, right? I mean, you know, I was in the right place. Sorry, yeah.
I paid my dues.
Yeah, I mean, that amount of commitment to memorize, you know, that amount of information on a weekend, for instance, when everyone else is out, you know, having meals and talking with their friends or whatever, and you're actually there, no, got to get this done, you know.
Yeah, I didn't go out at all. I was working nonstop. Yeah, I lost a few college friends from that, because they obviously moved on and had girlfriends, boyfriends, and got married and so on. You know, a lot of times I couldn't even attend the weddings because I was working.
Well, you know, I remember when I was DJing around the world, same kind of thing. I'd be DJing in Russia, or you know, and when I say Russia, I mean the back of beyond in Russia. I've been all over Russia. I've been just picking that out, but everywhere you know, wherever I've been, and I'd be on a Saturday night sitting in my hotel room, you know, getting ready to go to a gig, eating dinner on my own, thinking this is so glamorous. But
exactly.
Not really, you know, but the payoff to actually be paid to do what you love and actually perform in front of a few thousand people, or in your case, you know, worldwide with that, you know, television kind of opportunities, that payoff is good enough that you would choose to do it, right? I mean, you know.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, my friend said, why didn't you go out? I said, why didn't you call? They said, but you're always working, so that's why we didn't call you.
Yeah.
So, you know,
yeah,
they figured, and I wasn't.
I remember when mobile phones first come out, and I'd be talking to my friends. They're like, "We're all down the pub. We're doing this. We're doing that." I'd be like, "Nah, I'm somewhere else." So
I can relate.
Yeah, exactly. But most people wouldn't necessarily relate to that. They you know, just think they just see the glamorous part, and they don't necessarily see everything that goes on behind it. And I think that's the point. The world like congratulates you when you get there, but actually they don't see the sort of hard work that it takes to actually like perform, you know, and do that.
Yeah, the journey is not easy.
No.
Not easy at all.
But is it work when you love it?
Yeah, still, but yeah. I love it.
That's great.
It's challenging.
It's challenging.
It's very challenging because you have to do a lot of reading. A lot of reading, and you've got to, you know, remember stuff, and, you know, like what you're doing right now, you got to remember a bit of stuff about me to talk to me. Otherwise, it's not a conversation. It's just a Q&A.
I've researched you.
Yeah, okay. I mean, that doesn't make it interesting anymore, right? If that's the case, throw me 10 questions, I'll answer it, and then we say good night.
That's right.
You know,
yeah.
it's not a conversation. Yeah, the hardest part of any journalist, on-air journalist, is to make sure there's a conversation going, which is a lot of times a challenge, because obviously your interviewees are nervous too, depending on the subject matter, you know, and you're trying to break the ice, but you're trying to get information, you're trying to get that sound bite, you know, that you want, or your boss wants. You know, it's so many things that happen that people just don't realize, you know.
You're having to think on your feet, essentially.
Yeah.
I had someone I was interviewing the other day, or rather, sorry, they were interviewing me about the book. And we literally had this conversation. It just went on for, well, similar to this, just went on and on. It was great. It was beautiful. And it was a great conversation. And by the end of it, I was almost getting ready to kind of like apologize for being too talkative. And they said to me, no, don't worry. Because quite often we get on these kind of conversations and it's like, we get a one-word answer. Like, there's no good.
Yeah. No,
it's no good for a chat show. So anyway, I was interested in your obviously, you know, you were obviously on chat shows and as news anchors, etc. You're not allowed to offer any kind of opinions in some of those roles. It must have been challenging, mustn't it?
Yeah, I mean, as a journalist, you're supposed to be unbiased and report the facts. That's what you're taught, right? So we try and balance the facts and try and get the different points of view so that the viewer can make up their own mind as to what they believe or what they think that person, whether that person is telling the truth or not. To be fair, Mark, nowadays it's slightly different. There's a lot of editorial and opinion pieces now on the news and different networks around the world. So it's a different, almost like a different genre. During my time as old school journalism, basically you stick to the format and you do your best to get the information out as factually and as unbiased as possible. Right now, I'm sure you're watching different networks and you can see a lot of the anchor or talk show hosts are very opinionated, especially in the United States. And it's a different genre. And people want to hear what they want to think. That's fine. But during my time, you're right. I was more confined and constricted just by the mere fact that, times were different then, and
it's interesting,
they're different.
It's interesting with like 24-hour news channels now. Back in the day when I was a kid, I remember that didn't exist. You watch the news once for half an hour at the end of the day or whatever, and you got an update. But with 24-hour news channels, and particularly you mentioned the States, our two extremes would be, sort of kind of like Fox News. I know there's even that way in it. There's even further right wing than Fox News, but you'd have Fox News, and then I quite enjoy watching Michael Moore documentaries, who probably couldn't be more left wing, I guess. If you look at it that way, and you look at that, there's a lot of opinion out there, isn't there? And then it's hard to think about the facts or trying to get through the facts. I mean, I find I wonder about this question, but there's quite a lot of negativity in the media. We tend to focus on the negativity. What do you think about that?
Yeah, good news doesn't sell.
Yeah, exactly right.
You don't want to know about a flower pot that's, thriving, or a tree that's thriving. You want to know about the gory details of what happened on a street, how many people died, that sort of thing. That's always been the case for some reason. And just people tend to want to listen to that stuff,
I think it's an interesting thing about cause and effect. And I always have to get this the right way round. But human beings, we are the cause, and the news media are the effect, because their figures go up when there's a disaster, right? We all remember where we were for 9/11, or the previous generation always remember where they were for JFK when he was shot. That it's just ingrained into us, isn't it? And the news media, all they're doing is feeding us, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, I always tell my husband, who's vegan, and he loves to watch Food Network. And I said, listen, if you look at the content on Food Network, tell me how many vegan shows there are versus barbecued beef brisket, pizza with extra cheese, cakes galore. I mean, it's just what people want to watch. I mean, if you put in all vegetarian and vegan shows, I bet you their ratings would drop pretty fast.
I hear you. I do hear you. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? It's just humanity, and it's almost like sort of like group habit. That's just what we do. And I'm always interested. I love humanity. I'm fascinated by humanity, which is why I'm fascinated by you and your career and your job and everything that you've done over the years. I'm hoping that 2021 is going to be a better year for you. How do you feel about that?
Well, I hope so too, because I don't know how I'm going to handle it. Right? I've never not traveled in my life for 9 months.
Wow, yeah.
I mean, it just never occurred, in sickness or in health. It's never been this way. And we can't even go to Macau. That's like an hour drive.
Wow,
yeah. Never mind crossing the border to Shenzhen, to China. No, not possible. So, and it seems to be getting worse, not better. So that's a real problem. And a lot of friends, I mean, I've had a lot of friends who have passed away, and I can't even go to the funeral. I'm just not allowed into the country. So I can relate to people missing their loved ones, whether they're family or friends, and not being able to connect. And to me, honestly, I've done a few Zoom calls, to be fair, a few Zoom projects and a few Zoom jobs. it's not the same.
No.
I'd like to shake your hand, Mark. I'd like to look in your eyes properly. Now I'm looking slightly aside, so I'm looking basically at the left side of your face, so that I look good, or I'm framed well on Zoom. But it's just not the same.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just really hope you're right. I hope the whole world figures it out, whether it's a vaccine or not, or something, or this herd immunity or whatever. I don't know. Just hope it rides out.
I mean, we can't sit here and say we've got all the solutions. At the end of the day, I think it's important that we make the best of every day. And there are opportunities to connect. At least, we can connect like this, which, I'm eternally grateful for, because, I've actually been coaching with a guy here, a multimillionaire guy here, Kevin Green, and we've been using Zoom, and I've been coaching people in Australia and all around the world with Kevin. And it's been a great tool. And then all of a sudden, come February, March, Zoom was like the best kept secret. I used to use it quite a lot, and it was good. I've been using it for a while, for about 3 years, and all of a sudden it's like Zoom's just exploded into this thing. I mean, I don't know if you've seen Tony Robbins doing his UPW with like 10,000 people on a Zoom call and stuff like that. I mean, it's incredible energy that's been going on there. So, but as you say, it's not the same. You can't replace. We're socialized beings. We feed off people. It's so much easier to believe in yourself when someone else believes in you. You need that connection. So we can sit here on screens and we can look at them and we can connect and talk and share good information, of course. But I absolutely hear you. I've got a lot of friends. I'm going to come on to this actually as well. I've got a lot of friends that are just purely in the music industry. Now, when I was made bankrupt 10, 12 years ago now, I was 38 years of age, living in my mum's spare room, no money, nothing, someone giving me like a gyro check, a welfare check. But one of the things that Bob Proctor taught me, which was in part the whole self-development thing, was multiple sources of income. You must have multiple sources of income, because that actually allows you to ride out any crisis. I've been practicing this and getting myself up there. I was working at Heathrow Airport for a few years. I've done a lot of stuff in and around construction, all kinds. I've got 10 companies now. I'm not telling this to impress you. I'm just saying that actually I've got to a point where, okay, so one of our event business has gone down, and I'm not DJing very much, but that doesn't matter, because actually I've got all these other things. Like, we just bought another property today down in Wales. I bought 5 properties in the last year, all in South Wales. And I think multiple sources of income is really an important thing for everyone to learn. But you've obviously, up to this point, as far as I'm aware, you've committed to television and everything else you were doing there. You're also doing public speaking and various other projects, of course. So, but you must have, although you've been hit hard in this thing, multiple sources of income. Is that something that kind of speaks to you, that you understand, you get?
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. Unfortunately for me, I'm really focused more on that moderations and the summits and the conferences. And so I've been hurt pretty hard. And, I'm obviously have savings, and I've, invested my money, so I'm okay, but it's just really tough for me to find another kind of job that would excite me as much as the career that I've built already.
Of course.
It's difficult.
Yeah. I think multiple sources of income, if you can find various things that can pay you, like assets that can pay you money at certain times, if work, if I could go back to my 20-year-old self as a DJ and say to my 20-year-old self, listen, you want to be a DJ, that's great. Yeah. You want to travel around the world, brilliant, crack on. Have a great time, play records, bring joy to people. It's all going to be amazing. But make sure you're putting some money into assets and properties and things that are actually going to give you some income, so that you can sleep well at night. Because when all the gigs went,
yep,
down I went.
Yeah. No, you got to have some safety net somewhere. Put it aside, even if it's $10, $100 or whatever. Do it.
Have the government helped over there? Has there been government help?
Yeah, but it's minimal.
Really?
Yeah, it's really minimal. They offered like 5,000 Hong Kong, which is, I don't know how many pounds, a few £100.
Really?
It's not really going to help very much. Yeah. People just need to work. And if they keep closing restaurants, and, my musician friends are dying, they no more live music. They you know, they're going to help deliver food. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In order to make ends meet, or they're working in kitchens, or, you know, stuff like that. Not even restaurants, because they're closed now, you know, I mean, at 6 anyway. But yeah, it's really difficult. And then of course the mood, right? You know, nobody sees the light at the end of the tunnel just yet.
Yeah, I mean, we've, you know, our government keep promising that, you know, there will be light at the end of the tunnel, you know, and they keep like pushing forward for, you know, that we've just had the vaccines, the first vaccines here in the UK and stuff like that. And people are hoping upon hope that by April things will start to, you know, maybe by the summer we'll be able to start having outdoor parties again, and then, you know, that kind of thing. And it's a challenging time. I mean, I don't think any of us could ever have expected, you know, anything quite like this. I remember working at Heathrow thinking this place is recession proof, because there's like a plane taking off and landing every 45 seconds. And now there's like 4 planes like a day. I mean, talk about decimating an industry, you know?
Yeah. And BA has been banned in Hong Kong for 2 weeks. Starting, I think it was 2 days ago, because there are 4 COVID patients, patients that were on board the plane from London to Hong Kong.
Really?
So they banned them for 2 weeks. Yeah. So the next BA flight can only enter Hong Kong on Christmas Day, 25th of December.
Yeah, I mean, the world you never could have predicted this, and it's definitely been challenging. I mean, one of the things that's got us through here, to be completely honest, is golf.
Yes.
The fact that golf has actually got us through a huge amount of challenges, even when, you know, we've not been able to socialise or not been able to go inside. The golf courses have pretty much stayed open. They shut for a month, I think, or 6 weeks back at the start of it, and they did shut again just in November, just gone. But they have stayed open, and in the main, and it's been an absolute godsend, to be honest, for anyone. I've got friends that, you know, never seen a golf club before in their life, and they're just going to go and buy some and try and hit some balls, because it's just to get out of the house, you know. But let's talk about, first of all, let's talk about Tiger Woods, because obviously you got to interview him, and you know, so how was that? Where was that? Give me some detail. I'm interested.
Yeah, that was the first time he actually was in China with his father, and yeah, it's 2001.
Okay.
Yeah, he came to Mission Hills in Shenzhen, and we came down and interviewed him. Nice guy, you know, very proper. And, you know, this was before, obviously, all the scandals broke. He was still a young chap at that time. What was interesting to me was we were put in this a function room. So we were sitting on one corner. His father was sitting at the back of the room, right? Smoking.
Oh, really?
So I thought, gee, that's really, I always remember that. I mean, you know, here I am interviewing one of the top athletes in the world. Presumably he's healthy. And his father's sitting in the back of the room in a function room. It's not outdoors, indoor, smoking in an air-conditioned room. I thought, wow, that was fascinating. I mean, to me anyway. I have nothing against what he did. I'm just saying, you know, it was just so contradictory in a way, you know, that I remembered that.
You think about I mean, I remember reading some of his early experiences as a young black kid trying to get into golf clubs. And they're just like, no, you know, and it's just, you know, that kind of thing, you know, that sexism that you felt, you know, in the racism that, you know, we all have a journey, don't we? We all have a journey. We all have things to overcome. We all have like tests to, like, you know, to get through. And I mean, yeah, I mean, again, commitment, desire, focus. You know, think of you, like, you know, learning those lines for 8 hours. Think of, you know, him out there, you know, hitting his 7-iron. You know.
Yeah, that's amazing. I've also interviewed Annika Sorensen and, you know, a couple of the Korean PGA ladies as well. Wonderful. Just, you know, I mean, the tip Annika Sorensen gave me was very simple. I said, you know, obviously you got to ask her for a tip, right?
Yeah.
All she said was, look at the ball. And at first I thought, look at the ball. I
always looking at it.
Yeah. But you know what? I actually don't look at the ball a lot of times like I should. Yeah. Right. So therefore, sometimes you top the ball and, you know, sometimes you duff it and stuff. And I'm like, why? What did I do wrong? My arms are straight. You know, I'm turning. it's because I'm looking up like that, right? Rather than keeping, looking at the ball, and then that split second that you look up, you duff the ball or you top it. So it was pretty good advice.
I always try and train myself to just be looking down, well after I've hit it, and then try and get my playing partners to make sure that they're keeping an eye on it,
Yeah, you see?
because it could go anywhere.
Good.
It could go anywhere. It could go anywhere.
Very yeah.
But so I'm going to tell you, one of my friends actually gave me a quick tip with golf as well, with my driving. It's really improved it in the last few months. My friend Chris Roberts, he's the son of a quite famous actor here in the UK, and he told me just to drop, when I'm driving, just to drop my right foot back a little bit. So you think you'd be standing straight, both feet straight down, but actually I've just got my right foot back a little bit, and the ball it's beautiful. I'm so happy.
Thank you. I'm going to try. Our courses are closed now, but when they reopen, I'll try that. The right foot back a bit, right?
Just right foot back, just a little bit, not silly foot, just so you're not absolutely square on, just the right foot back a little bit, so you kind of almost like flowing through the ball. Honestly, it's made a massive difference to me. I've had 7 knee operations because of in the last few years, because of my disease in my body, right? I've had these 7 knee operations, so they've slowed me down a little bit, if I'm honest, Lorraine. But at the same time, he spotted that I'm not moving as easily as I should, and he just spotted that, and I love him for it. So I must say thank you to Chris for that little hot tip there. So
thank him too.
Try it. Just try your right foot back a little bit and then come through the ball. It's a good one. It's a real good one.
Thank you.
So any time flies. It's flying by. I can't believe it. Before we go, that whole piece about moving outside of your comfort zone. Lots of people struggle with it. So many people struggle with it. I've managed to do it. This book is moving me massively outside of my comfort zone, to be honest. And I'm just interested in sort of advice and tips you would have for people to sort of face their fears and go for things. What would you say on that?
Yeah, I mean, if you're passionate about something, Mark, and I'm sure you can relate to this, nothing can stand in your way. Nothing. No knee operation, no illness, no family loss. I mean, of course it's a step back and you feel it, but nothing stands in your way. And if I were to be 30 again or 25 again, I would do exactly what I did when I was 25 and 30 years old. Only thing, of course, like I said in the beginning of the interview, was I would have spent more time with my parents. Yeah. But other than that, if you're talking about career, go for it. You've got nothing to lose. We've only got one life. We've only got one chance. And when you miss it, you lost it. But you can always get it back if you fight hard enough and you try hard enough. People, I don't know about you, but I find a lot of the younger generation now expect a lot. They expect to be given a lot, like as if they're owed something in life. Gosh, I wish I had that opportunity when I was young. I had to earn every single thing I got. I wasn't given anything, nothing. Not to say my parents weren't poor, but they weren't filthy rich. But it's not giving materialistically necessarily. It's giving in emotion. It's given in support. It's given in all kinds of different ways that are not monetary in value. But that is so important when you're growing, especially when you're growing into your career, right? And that's what I think. So, we all got to push. We've all got to push in our comfort zone. There's definitely something that's going to happen in your life, that's going to make you rethink your life, what you do, your job, everything. And that's when the time comes when you really have to sit down and get to know yourself and know if you really, really want it. Because if you really, really want it, you'll get it done. I have faith.
I couldn't agree with you more. I almost just want to end. I almost just want to end the interview now. So that was amazing. But yeah, I mean, look, that was beautiful. That was a fantastic thing. I mean, For me, you're talking about, obviously, people just feel like the world owes them a living. And I think in some ways I might have fallen into that trap a bit when I was younger. But when I got taught that the way we earn money is by giving service and adding value, and a lot of the words you used just then about faith, you know, having faith in yourself to start with, you know, if you want the rest of the world to have faith in you, then you damn well better have faith in yourself first, right?
Yeah.
And I think
Love yourself first.
Yeah, always get yourself first. You know, get yourself right, and then it's the same with relationships, any business relationship, any work, anywhere. It's an important thing to do, and so many people miss it, I think, a lot of the time, you know.
Yeah, but you seem to be on the right path, Mark. I'm happy for you, really. I hope one day I can meet you, but I'm very happy to speak to you, and I'm very happy to hear your journey, because it's not ended yet, and it's far from ended, and it's taking you, as you said, in another path, and that's important. You've got the soul, and you need to have the soul to continue. Otherwise, it's so easy to give up. It's easy to give up. It's hard to fight. Very easy to give up.
It's really kind of you to say that. Thank you. I decided that the purpose of life is a life of purpose. I read that wise quote, and I just decided to give my purpose. It used to be just music. It was music. And then when I realized actually my purpose could be much wider than that, to bring joy to people. I love bringing joy to people. Joy, knowledge, inspire, create. I love doing that. So as long as I can do those things, music can be a part of that, but actually this book can be a part of it. These talks can be a part of it. You know, there's so much that you can do when you've got that life of purpose. And you, Lorraine, certainly have a life of purpose. And I'm really I want to track you, what happens in 2021. I want to see where you end up next. I mean, is there any light at the end of the tunnel? Is there anything being planned at the moment for you for 2021?
There are a couple that projects that were supposed to be this year, but they put it to September 2021 or spring of 2021. I'm just not holding my breath. I'll just have to wait. Yeah. To say anything now would be preemptive. So I'd rather not.
No,
yeah.
of course, yeah.
Hope for the best, you know, as long as you, your family, me, my family, everybody, we have our health, we have our brains, we still can do stuff, you know, no worries. This thing will pass.
Exactly right. Exactly right. I'd say health is wealth, and health is wealth. And yeah, this too shall pass. Definitely.
Yes. Yeah.
Right, Lorraine, it's been wonderful. Thank you so much for being here. No, thank you. It's been fascinating. From Elton John, Henry Kissinger, Tiger Woods to Mark Wilkinson and Lorraine Hahn. It's beautiful. I love it. But there's so many messages in there that you've shared that are going to help a lot of people. That are listening in and tuning into these. As I say, I can't thank you enough.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Take care.
Thank you.
For your information, we need more loving to help the situation. Got to have loving to keep the world together. We need more loving. We got to stick together. Got to have loving. There's a change that can play, but I gotta have a lot more love. There's a change that can play, but I gotta have a lot more love. There's a change never gonna